in 2004. It has a significant amount of new material that provides more answers, but also opens up many new questions. They say that no film is ever finished. It's abandoned. But I'm never abandoning this film, and there could be more beyond what you see tonight, but I'm very glad you're here to see this version, which is a companion that exists alongside the cinema version. And there's more pop music in this version. The order of the songs is slightly different, like a mixtape. And don't worry, Echo and the Bunnymen is still there. It's just later.
What about Mad World?
Oh, Mad World is still there. It's still a mad, mad world. It always will be.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Richard Kelly.
Well, the origin of the time travel book was something completely fictional, but it was a text that I felt was necessary to flesh out for my own purposes, knowing that Donnie is reading this book. As a director, I felt like I wasn't completing my story unless I knew at least partially what was inside of that book. I felt like I wasn't doing my job. So this text of this book, which is sort of the key to the entire story, it's not complete. You only get these very simple chapter titles within this version of the film, but it's meant to give the audience a clue into Donnie's motivation and also the time travel mythology at the heart of the entire film, which opens much bigger questions. And the author of the book, Roberta Sparrow, was a Catholic nun who left the church to start teaching science. And in this film, you're seeing a lot of Catholicism confronting science, which speaks to the fundamental dilemma that we all face in trying to solve the mystery of why we're here and where we go after we're here. Donnie is trying to solve that mystery over the course of the film. We don't know why he's laughing at the end, but hopefully we can feel okay that he might have the answers. The answers given to him by a Catholic nun who left the church and embraced science. There are two other books that are real, not mythical, fictional. A short story called The Destructors by Graham Greene, and then Watership Down by Richard Adams, both of which I was taught in high school. Those two texts were very influential in my upbringing, in my education. For Graham Greene, it was the phrase, destruction is a form of creation. And it spoke to what we now call, in the U.S., toxic masculinity. Young men who like to fight and destroy and destroy things for fun. Bullying and use, and Graham Greene was writing about that fundamental nature that seems to be in the DNA of young men. And then Watership Down, as I recall, was about a community facing oblivion and trying to find an escape route into safety. And the community in Donnie Darko, Donnie's immediate neighbors, are trying to escape this tangent universe that is potentially going to collapse, and Donnie has to rescue all of them, kind of like the rabbits have to escape to a better life. So it's some, I guess, metaphorical connection. A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking was published, I think, in 1988. And I read it soon thereafter, and my brain melted. Stephen Hawking seemed to have the kind of mind where he could penetrate through the fourth dimension and understand multi-dimensions in ways that I just could not understand. But it was so inspiring, trying to solve puzzles he was presenting in that book. And I felt that Mr. Hawking's book was kind of like a Bible in a way, that it felt spiritual, and it felt like a scientist's spiritual text that I thought was strangely moving given his physical handicap in what I thought was a spiritual quest on the part of a brilliant scientist. So the first idea was a teenage boy in my hometown who went off to school, and then a large piece of ice slid off the wing of a jet plane and smashed through his bedroom. I don't know who this boy is, I just remember reading about him and imagining how horrifying that must have been. So then the ice became a jet engine, and there was no plane. And the quest of this boy became to solve the mystery of the missing plane. Well, the structure of the tangent universe, the number on the arm coincides with a lunar cycle and a very specific scientific monthly rotation of the moon around the Earth. So there was a mathematical deadline for this universe, and the question that ultimately is up for debate at the end is, does Donnie think the engine is going to fall, or does he think it was all a very amusing dream? And that's up for debate. But I would definitely like to believe that he's onto something, and that he knows that he has more important things to do. Well, the biggest difference here is the text of the time travel book. and the inclusion of Watership Down, more texts within the film, and the additional inclusion of the idea of technology perhaps being a part of the time travel success, and really providing a version of the film with more answers that also asks more questions, with all of this material that we had already created back in early 2001. But I will say that I'm not satisfied with either version of the film. But I'm still proud to be here and talking about it. Well, there's just some more visual effects and practical effects that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to show the engine traveling through time the way Christopher Nolan would do it.
Voilà.
I had many guardian angels who helped bring this movie to life. Sean McKittrick, Nancy Juvonen, Drew Barrymore, Jason Schwartzman,
Il devait jouer le rôle.
the original Donnie. They helped bring the movie into financing and reality. And then after a disastrous Sundance screening, we were facing the complete destruction of the film. And Aaron Ryder, the producer of Memento, organized a screening, invited Christopher Nolan and his wife to show the executives at Newmarket Films. No, as friends, the producer of Memento, Christopher, invited his friends to encourage the executives to buy the film. So Christopher Nolan and his wife convinced the executives who had just made a lot of money off of Memento to buy Donnie Darko and put it in theaters. Well, this was January 2001 when it screened at Sundance. So that was 10 months or 8 months before 9/11. And I just remember everyone thinking the film was impossible to market and that it was impossible to understand and that the ending was horribly sad and depressing. And I also remember hearing that Harvey Weinstein told everyone not to buy it. The film came out in the U.S. on October 26th, 2001, which is about 5 weeks after 9/11. But I don't recall any a trailer with the engine hitting the house. I can't remember if that was in the trailer or not, but I know the French release was in early 2002, like January maybe. So I don't remember. Yes.
Oui.
In France, it will come out, I think, December.
En France,
November.
ça sortira en novembre.
Both cuts. I'm still writing it.
Je suis toujours en train de l'écrire.
It's pretty wild. There's a lot in there. It's more than just those little. That's a theory. I don't want to discount anyone's theory. I don't think anyone has all the answers. But with time, we can find more of them. And there's some problems or questions I'm still trying to solve, and that's the nature of art.